The Randy Wilson Podcast is Virginia's podcast for the culture, from the culture. And today we have the pleasure of recording this episode in front of a live audience here at the Black History Museum and Cultural Center of Virginia with Mayor Levar Stoney for his farewell tour. For those who are listening in, because this is streaming, okay, and we got plenty of phones in here. This is a social event, so keep the phones going. Share the content so we can spread this out there. But this will be streaming on Randy Wilson Podcast page. It's also being streamed on the Culture Collective. So definitely put those phones to use. Just keep the sound off, okay? We don't want any interruptions. But for those who are streaming and listening in, the museum is located here at 122 West Lee Street in the heart of Jackson Ward here in Richmond, Virginia. So I strongly encourage you guys to come check out this beautiful museum and support and contribute to the Art Center. This is a verified media production, and I would be remiss if I get into this conversation without making a few acknowledgments. First and foremost, we want to show a great appreciation to the City of Richmond for pouring in several tools and resources to help make this happen. We want to acknowledge the Black History Museum, and we want to shout out my uncle Mike King from ESPN Radio 106.1 for being a sponsor, because he will be re-airing this show this week on the radio. So check out Mike King. Also, we have several content creators here tonight. So for those in the audience after the event, you may get poached because somebody might want to get you to give a couple words on the event. Maybe share your sentiments on Mayor Stoney. And again, just remember that we want to create a lot of content because this is a celebration, all right? So this podcast can be played everywhere podcasts are played. I'm going to encourage those who are listening on audio to go over to YouTube so you can see the gentleman that I'm about to bring up here. You may be familiar with him. He's been on my show 7 times. He's made my show one of the top shows in the region. He's been a major contributor, and I'm forever grateful and appreciative of him. Not only for his leadership, fearless leader, but just for the man that he's been, particularly in being a generational leader. We see a lot of people, a lot of times we pay a lot of homage to folks who are older than us or people from the past. But Mayor Stoney, you have been a generational leader, a brother, to a lot of us. You're now a father to Sunday, a wife to Brandy, and you really don't need much of an introduction. So I'm gonna need you to come on up here and y'all give him a round of applause. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be real fun. This is gonna be different.
This is different from what we've done in the past, right? Both of us, at an undisclosed location.
Yep.
Just chopping it up, but now we got a little audience here too. So.
It's gonna be fun, it's gonna be entertaining. I have questions for you that no one's ever asked. But they're good questions too. They're really good questions. So we're gonna start here with a little icebreaker, okay?
Okay.
What's one thing about being the mayor of Richmond that no one prepared you for?
I think one thing that I guess I figured it would happen, but you have to experience to actually, know it, and that is the loss of privacy, right? I came into this job as a 35-year-old, and I thought, you know what? And I think there's some people in this room who know I said this. I was like, I'm going to continue being a 35-year-old. And then you realize you can't continue being a 35-year-old because Richmond is 230,000 people. We have big city sort of features, but this is still a small town. And whether I'm out having dinner or I'm at the bar or I'm walking down the street, someone's going to say hello, someone's going to want a picture. And so there's a total loss of your privacy. And that's one thing that, for a second there, I thought, well, maybe I'll get it back sometime soon, but that's not going to happen anytime soon.
No.
So that's the one thing that you have to be prepared for is, if I were to be talking to Dr. Danny Avula right now, prepare to lose all of your privacy now. Like you are one with the city. And I think that's the way you have to do the job.
Yeah. When we reflect on the past 8 years, okay, and I want to look at key accomplishments. Looking back, what are the top 3 moments that you're most proud of as the Richmond mayor?
Top 3 moments or top 3 accomplishments, right?
That you're most proud of?
Well, number one is when you look at the poverty rate when I arrived and the poverty rate today, we've been able to cut the poverty rate by 33%, by a third. And that's nothing to shake a stick at, because there was a point in time when Richmond was dying and declining, that people were fleeing the city, that money didn't stay in the city, the money was going elsewhere. Now we're in an era in which money is coming into the city, more people are coming into the city, and what my administration prioritized was to ensure that everyone eats, that everyone gets a piece of the pie. If we're growing this pie, then we got to have slices of pie all throughout the city, in North Side, in South Side, in the East End. And if you look at my tenure, we've seen 6,000 plus affordable homes either preserved or constructed during my watch. You're seeing household income go up by 40%, per capita personal income's up by 50%. There has been roughly 6,500 new good paying jobs that have arrived in the city over the course of the last 8 years. So essentially there are more jobs, more people, and more homes. And there are not too many cities in the country that can say exactly that. So I'm proud of that. That's first. Mm-hmm. Second, I've always believed that foundationally, in order to create a prosperous community, you must start with public education. And you all know that's my first love, is education. When I ran for office in 2016, I would knock on doors in South Side, in the East End, and I would hear people sort of down on the school system, believing that the school system was unfortunately a one-way ticket to the underclass in our city. And I wanted to change the trajectory of that. And that begins with funding. I don't care what anyone tells you about public education, but obviously in order to make an impact on the lives of kids who are living with the challenges of poverty, you have to fund it. They need more money in the schools. They need more teachers, more educators, more counselors. It just takes more. And so on our watch, we've increased funding for public education by 58%, nearly 60% under my watch. 3 new schools. River City, Cardinal, Henry Marsh. 2 schools that are under construction right now. One because of a tragedy we had with the fire. Fox Elementary School is under construction, and RHSA, Richmond High School for the Arts, the old George Wythe, which will be a massive complex, which I was there yesterday and I was like, this is coming out the ground.
We saw the hard hat. We saw you. We saw you.
I think that so public education. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize the fact that we have been able to give elementary schoolers and middle schoolers access to after school programs now. And when you graduate from RPS and you want to go to community college, we will pay your way to Bright Point and J. Sargent Reynolds.
Now I hope those who are listening in.
So that's 2 right there, and I got a third.
You talking directly to children right now who are listening on the streams.
Well, here's the thing. Mm-hmm. I stole this program, our Pathway Scholarship Program, from my friend Mayor Fisher in Louisville. And he said, it's gonna take a little time to get it off the ground. And I said, we like to move fast here. And so my chief administrative officers told me that we had a surplus. Lincoln Saunders, he said, we had a surplus, and I said, well, I'm gonna use a piece of that surplus to go to this scholarship program that was recommended by the Anti-Poverty Commission that Mayor Jones instituted some years ago. And I said, I want a percentage of that to go to seed a scholarship that will allow for young people to, if they choose to go to post-secondary success, they have an opportunity, and financial hardship will not be a barrier. I think that's very important. Mm-hmm. The third and the most notable thing that I imagine I will be known for a very long time is the removal of those damn Confederate monuments. And here's the deal. I did not go into this thinking that I was going to be the mayor that would remove Richmond's Confederate iconography. It was not at the top of my list. But I saw the wave coming, right? And being the mayor, you have to be almost like a quarterback, where you have to look down the field and be able to read the coverage. And you have to know what's about to happen.
You have a little experience in being a quarterback.
Yeah, exactly, right. I may have thrown a couple interceptions in my day, but I was throwing a lot of touchdowns too. So you're looking down the field, Mayor Mitch Landrieu in New Orleans is removing monuments in New Orleans. And when something like that happens in New Orleans, in the Deep South, it's only a matter of time before that wave hits Richmond. And so I wanted to preempt any sort of like calling for us to follow the same route. And I said, you know what, let's have a commission and let's discuss this in full. And we want to discuss whether or not we recontextualize these monuments or keep them the same. And then the tragedy in Charlottesville occurred. The Unite the Right rally happened. Heather Heyer was murdered. And I knew then that I had to put removal on the table. And the commission came back with some recommendations, only to remove Jeff Davis, but to recontextualize everything else. But at the time, we did not have the right or the ability to remove monuments locally. The Democrats get the control of the General Assembly, and they had the governorship. We get the power starting July 1, 2020. What occurs? A pandemic, social unrest, and going in there, hoping that the city council at the time would have supported my efforts to remove the monuments, I made the decision, using my emergency powers, to remove every single monument in the city of Richmond. And people said, number one, that we couldn't, and number two, that we shouldn't. And when we did it, there were some who said that the city of Richmond, the good days of the city of Richmond had passed. That, you know, Richmond is a nothing city without those monuments. That we were gonna fall into the earth, that the sun would not come up the next day. And guess what? More people have moved to Richmond since the monuments. More money has arrived in Richmond since the removal of those monuments. So don't let anyone tell you anything about the best days have passed. The best days are in the future moving forward, and I'm proud of that.
Mm-hmm. Something that's super cool to me that you don't really talk about, you haven't really talked about much, that has helped Richmond be recognized across the country, is that you were the chairman of the Democratic Party for the Mayors Association, and that's the whole country. Like, to me, that's just super cool. Our mayor was the chairman of the Mayors Association for the whole country. You don't really even talk about it much. That seems like a pretty nice credential to have that I think is a good foresight for what the potential future can be. But we got to get there.
Okay, all right.
We're gonna get there. And what is something that you feel like that you did not get the recognition that it deserved that you're really proud of?
You know, one thing that doesn't get a lot of recognition, and I can tell by the media coverage from the tour that we just had recently, you know, I'm traveling to different parts of the city, highlighting some of the successes and the accomplishments of our city. One thing that doesn't get a lot of attention, I think, is number one, what we've done with the roads in Richmond. Mm-hmm. It needs more attention, and needs to be highlighted more, because when I came in, there were potholes everywhere. Now, and I'm not saying that we've eliminated every single pothole in Richmond, but when I came in as mayor back in 2017, and I remember in 2016, I thought it was something hokey to do. I took a picture in front of a pothole, you know, and I said I was gonna fix these potholes. Thank you, baby.
That's right.
Thank you. That's my daughter, for those who are streaming right here. I said we would fix these potholes, and $112 million later, 75% of our roads are considered in good condition. That doesn't get enough attention, I think, because we have so many new people move in who say, like, you know, oh, I hit a pothole today. And I was like, were you here 10 years ago? You should have seen Shockoe Bottom 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. But now things are, you know, I want residents to expect good roads, the grass to be cut, the core services, right? I don't think we get enough credit, that this administration gets enough credit on what we've done on core services, right? And core services to me is, can you deliver, can you pick up the trash on time? Can you remove the mattresses that were sitting out for? Now, I always use this metaphor right here, this analogy, and that is, you got Miss Jenkins who lives in Churchill. She may not see anything on social media, but she's gonna walk out front to the curb line. She's gonna look to the left, and she's gonna look to the right, and she's gonna look down. When she look to the left, if she sees drug dealers at a corner, we got a problem. She's gonna let us know. She looks to the right, and she sees mattresses stacked up and the garbage overflowing, she's gonna let us know. She's gonna call 311. If there's potholes still in her street, she's gonna let us know. And for all those things, I'm not saying we have 100% solved, although we made some tremendous progress in the core services of this city. Something that people can be proud of. People pay a good penny to live in the city of Richmond. I know this. And we have delivered on the core services. They are better today than they've been in the last decade, compared to the last decade.
Well, we have a lot of blogs in here, new media, I like to call it, and we can help circulate that message,
Good.
I believe, tonight. So thinking about challenges here, okay? Challenges in areas where you've shown resilience. What's the toughest decision you've had to make during your tenure? And how did you approach it?
The toughest decision I've had to make in my tenure. Well, obviously, when it comes to personnel, I think any person who's been a leader of a nonprofit, a company, a business, an organization, personnel is always the hardest part of the job, right? Because sometimes if people are not doing the job well and you've built up a rapport with these individuals, you gotta let them go, because we are in a performance business, right? There's an expectation by those who pay our salaries that we are going to deliver on, on what we promise. And I'm not gonna obviously single out anything that has occurred in terms of individual people, but personnel decisions are the toughest, right? Because if the way I lead as I'm a member of a family and we're all family, right? I like to grow close to those I work with. And so if you go into City Hall with me today, you'll see me walk through the front door and you'll see those who work in security, those who are in the janitorial staff, the people who work in finance, they'll all say, hey, Mayor, can I ride the elevator? Let's go. I like to build a family sort of, mentality over at every organization I've ever worked for. And so personnel decisions are always the toughest decision for us. I would say also, some of the work around what we had to do during the social unrest was tough.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Was tough, right? Because I think, once again, I always like to be the friend to everyone, but you realize I have a leadership role, and it's my job to exercise authority and order as well, to bring order and authority back to the city. And people look to me for that direction. And that means sometimes you have to be considered the bad guy, right? And we can't allow for vandalism and for people to destroy property or for people to be, to injure others. And there are times when I had to step up and, bring order back to the city. And, I understand that, some people don't like that, but at the end of the day, we have to be a city that believes in the rule of law, and not just a rule of law for some and not for others, but for everyone. And that can't just be during the summer of 2020, that's to be 24/7. We have to be a city that people feel like they can be safe in. And that has always been the roughest part in terms of having to, exercise and lead in that way.
It helps you develop tougher skin from 35 to 43, I would imagine now. Would you say?
Yeah, tougher skin is an understatement.
What kind of skin you got?
Well, there were some people who were here when I began.
Mm-hmm.
I see Jim Nolan in the crowd. I see, Lincoln Saunders was here from day one as well. I was a tad bit more sensitive early on. If you wrote something about me on Twitter or on Instagram, I've probably been all in my feelings, right? And I can't believe someone said this about me. Y'all fix this or whatever. And now I let it roll off my back, because you realize that, and I have nothing against the new media out there. I love y'all. God. But social media is not real life. It's only a segment of the population. And the real life, the reality, is different compared to what's going on X or what's going on TikTok. A lot of people don't even have any of those. And so I realized that, the best way to lead is to lead without any of those distractions. And you know what? I gave up like having it installed on my phone in 2020, because you need to be clear-minded to make some of these decisions. And I got that from some people who work in politics, like, you know what, the best thing I can give you right now is to stay off of social media. If you want to make clear-minded decisions, you need to stay off of social media. And that has been the best advice given to me by others who have been involved in government and politics.
I'm gonna share with you guys something funny and embarrassing. Talking about content creators, there was a time that
well, I ain't talk about content.
I'll share it. I'll share it. So I'm working with a blog in here, and they're here, and we had some content that we just knew that was going to go Richmond viral, and it did. And I sent it to Stoney instead of the content creator, and I said, hey, like, if you cut this up just like this, you got to say this right here, it's going to go. And I accidentally sent it to Stoney. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was so embarrassed. But in that moment, it showed me like, dang, like, he never treated me any different. He's like, I think he got it. Like, he was okay. He was like, and he came back on my show and he actually talked about the situation. Yeah. And he confronted the person, and the content went Richmond viral. All the blogs cared it did. And he said, you know, he's a fighter for sure, but
this must have been about Joe Morrissey.
It was.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. All right, next question. Next question.
So give us some personal insight here, okay? Is there a moment from your time as mayor that you'll tell your grandkids about someday? Something specific, something particular that you think will stand out. Like, I can only imagine telling your grandkids about the monuments piece, because that's something that they probably, you know, they won't know it without looking through the history books. But is it something for you particularly that you want them to know?
The monuments, obviously, it's first to mind, right? That your grandfather was involved in, you know, I look back at my career over the last decade. I've been involved in two major, you know, when you talk about Virginia taking some true steps forward from its Jim Crow past, I've been involved in the restoration of voting rights to former offenders, right? When I did that with Governor McAuliffe, which was a major accomplishment, right? And the second is the monuments, right? Two major things in both of the posts that I've had when I was Secretary of the Commonwealth and then I was as mayor. And I want people to know, I want my grandchildren to know that you have to do jobs like that. You have to be unafraid. You have to be fearless. You can't think about the next election. I remember when I worked on Governor McAuliffe's team and I was leading his effort to restore those civil and voting rights. And I came to him and I told him, I got off the phone with someone who had just gotten the right to vote back, and she was on the road and she cried and she pulled over to the side of the road and she just cried on the phone to me and she said, I'd never thought I would see the day that I could vote and participate in an election. And I went downstairs to the third floor of the governor's office and I said, y'all gotta let me in. I gotta talk to the governor. And I told the governor that, and he said, this is why we knock on the doors. We ask people for money. This is why we ask for the privilege to serve. And I remember that. And when the moment came for the removal of the monuments, this is why we ask for the privilege to serve. Sometimes you get to choose your moments, but sometimes the moments choose you. And I want my daughter and my grandkids one day to know that when the moment chose me, that I rose to the occasion. I didn't shy away. I rose to the occasion and I did the right thing. And also I want them to know that if you're gonna lead anything or lead anyone, that you have to be willing to stick your neck out. And guess what? Some days you're not gonna win every single battle. But guess what? The measure of any person is about whether or not they are able to get back up, right? And the story of my life, I would not be here before you today if I stayed down or laid down after there was every obstacle that I faced. When I heard that I couldn't, when I heard that I couldn't go on the field trip, I could have just given up, I guess, right? It's hard to hear that when you go to, I'm using this as a moment of like an obstacle for me, right? Because everybody else gets to go on the field trip, but you don't. You get to stay behind and work in somebody's classroom in a corner somewhere. And I saw that as an obstacle to me because I was like, they're getting educated. They're getting something that I'm not getting today. And there's a high likelihood they're going to come back and there's going to be a report done or a quiz or whatnot. And I'm not going to be able to know what's on the quiz because I didn't get a chance to go. Or I couldn't, back in the day when I was a young kid, they had book fees in our school division, which is, I look back at that like, book fees. Parents had to pay for their kids to take the books home to do their homework. And my dad was like, I got you your supplies, I got you your glue, your pens and all that. I'm out of money. I don't have anything. Do your homework at home, at school. So I would rush and do the homework right there before I left school, or I would arrive early. I would say, forget breakfast. I would run right to the classroom and try and do all my, put all your vocabulary words in alphabetical order. Use it in a sentence. Define every vocabulary word they give you the night before. I would run back and do all those right then and there so I can get a good grade. And like I said, I could have given up and said, hey, sorry, I don't have the book, I can't do the work. Instead, when met with that obstacle, when met with that hardship, I said, you know what? I'm just going to have to work 5 times harder, 10 times harder. And, I want my grandkids to know that, life is not always going to give you flowers and roses.
Sunday's not going to have any excuses.
I don't want her to have any excuses. That's right. She might as well come here and do the interview with me, man.
She's doing so good, too. You can already tell that y'all raising her right, because she's sitting, I had a pastor one time, he said, let the babies cry at church. It's okay, this is where they learn how to behave. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And she's clearly showing that she's got some...
That's all her mama. That's her mama.
Good. So we're gonna get a little lighthearted here, all right? We're gonna change the tone a little bit, kind of go behind the scenes of Mayor Levar Stoney. Yep, that's right. Richmond is known for its style. Where do you buy your suits? And do you have a favorite tailor in town? Because them suits, Stoney, be fitting.
So here's the deal. This has been talked about in many circles.
Oh, it got to me. They said they wanted this one.
So I've been told that when I started out, the suits were way too tight. They were slim fit. And styles have changed since 8 years ago.
Well, age has changed. I mean, I like slim fit, but my wife tells me that I'm too old. I may have gained a few pounds
as well. Nothing crazy, but I get older. I gained a couple pounds.
Brandy be cooking.
You see, she be
we
cooking.
We see it on Instagram.
She be cooking, yes. But there's a couple. Kevin Fox was a good brother of mine who's done a couple suits for me. I know
Kevin Fox. I've seen him at Stony Point. Yeah.
He's done a couple suits for me as well, nicely tailored. He does a good job. I've been lucky that I can go and order something online or pull something right off the shelf.
I'm surprised that
off the rack.
I'm surprised Jimmy Budding had you walk the thing in Richmond Fashion Week. Have you?
I've been invited, but the schedule has not worked. I've done it one time with 707.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He didn't give me the suit. Not supposed to take it. That'd be a gift. Can't do that. I've been asked a couple times to walk the fashion show. Yeah. It hasn't worked in my calendar. But what you have to have, this is the secret, folks. You got to have a good tailor. No matter the suit that you made, it doesn't matter the price of the suit. You have a good tailor and it fits you, that is the key. No one's going to ask, hey, let me see the inside of your jacket. No one's going to ask you that. They're going to ask whether or not does the suit look good on you. So I'm a big believer, as Deion Sanders said, you look good, feel good. Feel good, play good. Play good, they pay good.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Deion said that. And I believe that, my father used to thought he could dress. I think, if he saw me today, I'm like, I dress better than you, Dad. But he thought he could dress, and I would steal his clothes sometimes, and this will work better for me. But what I've learned is wearing clothes that fit you. You don't want to have too baggy, and you don't want to be too tight. Ain't that right, baby? Yeah. It won't be too baggy, it won't be too tight. So
her face is now. My wife will look at me, but it's always too tight. It's always too tight. Darian, we got Richmond Men's Fashion Week coming up soon. Shout that out. I think that it's time for you to take that walk, man. I think it's time for, I'm not,
We'll see.
All right, what's the most surprising thing in your office right now? Some weird gift or memento or something that nobody in here would expect that's in your office?
Weird gift. Here's the thing.
Told you we could have fun.
Well, we could have had, these are questions I was not expecting, I'll tell you that. When you're the mayor, you get a number of gifts that are just like, you just go, this is interesting. And the one gift that always, makes me chuckle is everybody has a portrait of you. Because everybody thinks, they can draw you. And then you get the portrait and you're like, you just smile like, okay, yeah, this. And then I go home and say, I don't know if this looks like me. This looks like me? Does this look like me? And some people get it right, some people don't. But those gifts are always the ones I'm just like, where am I going to hang this one day? A portrait of me looking at the flag or something like that. I get those a lot. People like, they say, I drew this of the mayor, I want him to have it. And I'm grateful for the artistic talent that we have here in the city and beyond. When I go to do speaking engagements, I go to Roanoke or somewhere, someone will give me a gift and it'll be a portrait of me. So that is probably the gift to where I'm just like, I get the most is portraits of me.
Okay. What's the strangest or funniest thing that's ever happened in a city council meeting or a public event? I mean, this is what y'all wanted to know.
The strangest thing that's ever happened was I give my budget speech. It was a damn good budget speech. And I sit down and my friend, and let me repeat this. My friend Reva Trammell says, I'm gonna wipe that smile off your face. And I was like, smiled back. I was like, what's going on? It took me for a loop. I was like, what's she talking about? And people know, if you know me, that my nervous tick is the smile. When someone's doing something what I think is a little bit like, out of the norm, I'll be like, okay, yeah. And that's exactly what was going on because she was going after the things I had said in the speech. And I was just like, I'm just gonna sit here and smile through it. And then she said she was gonna wipe the smile off my face. Wow. And when I went to the barbershops after that, everybody was like, man, why you let Reva talk to you like that? And I was like, there's a thing called decorum, right? And I'm not gonna get up and rant and, get in her face or nothing like that. What I've always expressed, not just to people like my friend like Reva, to all my friends who are on council, Nicole Jones is with us tonight, is that sometimes folks don't realize that whatever occurs on council is a reflection of all of us. And let me tell you why this is the case, right? A lot of people don't know the difference between what I do, what the council does, what the administration does, whether RHA is under my control or not, or whether I even control schools. They consider all of it the City of Richmond. Mm-hmm. All of it the City of Richmond. They don't know, I don't run that, I don't run this. They consider it all the City of Richmond.
Sounds like the church said amen.
The church said amen. And here's the thing, when we do, this is what people consider dysfunctional, right? This is what I consider dysfunctional. Dysfunctional is having back and forth stuff that you would see at somebody's cookout on the dais. Mm-hmm. That's dysfunctional. People don't want to see that. There is opportunity for us to settle our differences behind closed door and then come in here and do our professional job as leaders and public servants. They don't want to see you going back and forth, and saying, meet me outside or anything like that. Like, they didn't sign up for that. And there are localities in Virginia where that is the norm. And there was a time in Richmond when that was the norm. And I'd like to think that we have matured as a locality, as a city government beyond those days, right? Where You turn on the TV, and what's the first thing they report is the drama going on between this council person and that council person, or a council person yelling at a director or whatever. That is not how you do business, right? They don't do that in other parts of Virginia. And so I like to remind folks that what happens on that dice is a reflection of everyone. So bring your professional face, your best self, to work, whether it's as a director or as a member of the administration or as a member of the city council.
Doesn't matter. Labels can sell more than they reveal.
Here's the thing.
You could be the front door person.
And Randy, you know this, there's an expectation that if you want that drama, you go to the City of Richmond. But guess what? That same expectation is the same expectation they have in Newport News, they have in Roanoke, if we want to see some drama, we're going to watch a city council meeting. And I've always said, you know what? We have to be better than that because they already come in with the stereotypes and the tropes, and we have to go beyond those tropes, right? And prove to them. And one of those things that I wanted to show people that we can do it as well or better than our friends in the counties. And here's the thing, we have done a lot of great things working together in collaboration with Chesterfield and Henrico. But I like to think that, we got to have a little competition as well. No, friendly competition is good, right? And an example of that we can do it as well as the counties is that Richmond is a AAA credit rated city. That's important. A decade ago, the poverty rate in the city was over 26%. And now, fast forward 10 years later, we're a AAA credit rated city by Wall Street. That means when we do these projects and we have to finance these projects, we get a cheaper interest rate, which saves the taxpayers money.
We like when you talk like that. Stick your chest out. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And it gives us the ability to do multiple projects. I've been on my tour, the City's Faring Well tour, for the last week. The one thing I like to point out to the media is the ability for us to do multiple projects all at once.
Yeah.
And let me just take some time to list what we're doing. We're building 3 community centers all at once.
Go ahead, church.
We're building 2 schools all at once.
Let's go.
A new police station, a precinct, all at once. 2 firehouses. 5 new parks. We're in the Diamond District. A new ballpark. We're doing this all at the same time. There was a time in Richmond where we would pit project against project. You can't have this school until I get this. You can't do this until we get that. And now, this is speaking to the maturity of our city. We have shown that you can do multiple things at once. You can chew gum and run at the same damn time.
Yeah. Got me fired up a little bit over here, Dion. You got me fired up, man. Can somebody get this man?
Hey, can I just say one thing as well?
Get it out, man.
There are some people who say, I just listed a litany of projects that are going to be either completed by the time I'm done or will be done in the first year, okay? So for all those individuals out there who want to know what I've done, watch this. Watch this interview. Go to all my social media platforms, and for the next week, again, I'm going to show you all the things that we've done as a city. And here's the thing, this moment in my time as I wrap up 22 days left, I've chosen not to be reflective every time we've done something great, right? Because we go from one fire to the next fire, one problem to the next problem. We don't do enough celebrating the things that we've done here as a city collectively. And this has given us an opportunity to talk about all the things that we've accomplished as a city. And here's the thing, this was not a one-man show. We could not have done this without city council support, the community's support. And so I just think that sometimes we focus on the wrong thing.
Yeah, listen, we're going to focus on that clip and we're going to tag that. We're going to blow that one up. We
focus on the wrong thing, right? Because we know what sells and what gets clicks is like, someone did not get their utility bill right. Someone's tax bill was incorrect. That gets a lot of clicks because I get it, people expect those things not to happen. However, how about we give some love to the things that we do well, though? The things that are happening right before our eyes.
Yeah.
Right? The fact that people are moving to Richmond again. Like I said, you got to have some context. Like Kamala Harris said, it's like, you just didn't fall out of a coconut tree, right? Mm-hmm. Remember where we were. Remember where we were and where we are today.
You might have a little minister in you, man.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. You might have a future. We'll see. Okay. Have you been recognized in public at the worst possible moment? Like you trying to grab a sandwich or something, and then all of a sudden somebody just.
Early on, because remember, I rejected having a security detail, executive protection unit.
You rejected that in the beginning?
I rejected it in the beginning. Chief Alfred Durham came to me and said, Mayor, I don't want you walking home from dinner at night. I want you to have a security detail. And I said, nah, we're good. And because it was a commitment I made to the community. And then 2020 happened. But before 2020, just like I would walk down the street and people would say, hey man, you just walking down the street by yourself?
So for how long?
For 4 years.
No security?
None.
Oh, okay.
I would take an Uber. I would say, I'll meet you somewhere and I'll jump in the Uber and get in the Uber to get somewhere. And people were like, that is ridiculous. What are you doing? And I think the most uncomfortable parts of those moments were when I was in the Uber and people were like, looking in their rear view and they're like, are you the mayor? I was like, yes, I am. And then they want to go in on what they're thinking. And then you have to basically be on the couch, essentially, right? Telling like, yeah, we're doing this, and yeah, we're doing, oh no, that's not happening. And then people start talking about, the mayor was in my Uber. And so, in a couple of days, I'll be back in the Uber. I'll see y'all. Because the time will be ending, 22 days or so.
What's that? I mean, do you have any apprehension about what that's going to feel like, though, going back to just being a normal citizen, no security?
Here's the thing. I care more about the protection of my family than I care about myself, right? When I started this thing out, I was a single man, no family. And, when you are at my age, when I started out, 35 years old, you think you're invincible. All these young folks think they're invincible, right? And I thought I was invincible. That, no one's going to get me. No one's I'm going to run away before, to get me. Mm-hmm. But the reality of this whole thing is things have changed since 2020. Life has changed. You saw Paul Pelosi attacked in his own home. You've seen, a number of threats to politicians and their, different leaders. The whole environment has changed. And so what I care the most about is the protection of my family and my loved ones, That's what the only thing that mm-hmm. will change for me is that I want to ensure that they're taken care of.
What's you and Brandy having date night? What's your favorite restaurant to go to?
I think she would agree.
Maybe I should ask Brandy.
I think she would like to agree. Since we live in Churchill sometimes, we like to catch fried chicken night at the Roosevelt. We can walk Sunday, couple blocks, and then we can go check out the Roosevelt for fried chicken night.
Okay. Fried chicken now?
They do a great fried chicken.
I need you to get off
on some date nights, though. We also like to go to. We've gone to Lost Letter. Mm-hmm. We've gone to. We've done family outings at ML Steak. Mm-hmm. Right. We've done. What else do we? I like Rappahannock. Mm-hmm. I go. Here's the thing. I have no one restaurant. I go everywhere. I share the love. And that's the great thing about living in Richmond is that there's so many just different opportunities for you to spend your money.
We joke about it. It's the truth.
Spend your money. I mean, so you got a little disposable income, mm-hmm. spend it in one of our restaurants.
Mm-hmm. If you had a free Saturday to yourself in Richmond, what would you do? A free Saturday. Now, when you're out of office and you're not on the campaign trail, what are you gonna do? Free Saturday. Free Saturday. You ever heard of that?
It's been a long time since we've had a free Saturday. But if I'm having a free
Saturday, you even got childcare. You even got childcare.
Well, time out. If I'm having a free Saturday, I'm spending it with my family. right? And they know that too.
Oh,
It's the truth.
It's nice.
If I have a free Saturday, I'm spending it probably at home in my sweatpants with a sweatshirt, just hanging out with them. I watch some football or something like that, whatever. But you know, if I got a free Saturday, I have nothing to do, I'm spending it with Brandy and Sunday.
That's nice. That's nice. That's nice. All right, let's get into the future of the city. What do you see as Richmond's biggest opportunity for growth in the next decade?
Well, first let me name the place.
All right.
South Richmond.
Yep.
Southside is a big opportunity for growth. And so if you are out there investing, if I'm you, I'm investing in Southside. Why? Because the north-south BRT, right? We have the east-west BRT right now on Broad Street, right? Going from Henrico to Henrico through Richmond. But in the future, we're going to have a north-south BRT from Henrico down through Southside, down through Midlothian, through Nicole Jones's area of the city. And what I've come to find out, where we are spending, when you are seeing government spending, we're investing in whether it's new roads and new sidewalks or just new community centers, things of that nature. You're also seeing private sector spending as well, investment following that. We got 5 new parks in South Richmond, 5 new parks in Southside. And what I've seen is one of the parks that's going to come online, there's already an affordable housing residential complex right there. The Southside Community Center. Since the Southside Community Center even came about, we've seen growth of affordable housing right next door to it. There's going to be more opportunities just like that in South Richmond. And I believe there are some people out there who believe that Richmond should be more like Savannah and Charleston. Okay? But our issues and our challenges are more like Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, D.C. Those are the challenges that we face. And so we don't have the luxury of being just like Savannah and just like Charleston. We have to invest in ensuring that we continue to reduce that poverty rate. That means bring more jobs and more opportunity. We have to focus on economic growth and economic opportunity. And the basis of that, the foundation of that is housing. Housing, 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 build, baby, build. We have to upzone across the city to create more opportunities for where people can live here in the city. As you all know, it's just a supply and demand thing. We have a lot of demand, but not a lot of supply. We up the supply, we reduce the price of living in the city. That's what we want to do. I want those who work in city government, those who are police officers, firefighters, if you're a nurse at MCV, at VCU Health, if you teach that you shouldn't have to live 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes out. You should be able to live in Richmond. And so we have to build more homes, period. And I think that's where the opportunity comes in. If we are bold and brave enough, we'll recognize that we just can't be a community of single family homes. We got to be able to have townhomes, the stackables that you see like in Prince William County or in Stafford, where you have the 2-over-2s, they call them. You got to have those opportunities right here in Richmond as well. And guess what? People will buy them. If they are affordable, people will buy them. If they're affordable, if they're nice, people will rent them. That's where I want to see Richmond go.
If you can't build out, build up.
Here's the thing, we are 60 square miles. We are landlocked, right? There's no annexation happening in Richmond anytime soon, right? That's off the books. And so we have to utilize the 60 square miles that we have and be smart about it, right? And the only way you can grow, you can't grow out, you got to grow up.
Kudos to you for being the first mayor to ever put in have a budget for a transition plan for our new mayor-elect, Dr. Danny. How's that transition?
Avula, yes.
Danny Avula.
I got you. You would not know that until 22 days.
That's up. What's that transition looking like when your team working with his team?
Well, I think it's very important to recognize that we did something that other administrations have never done, and that is we had a real, let's be professional and mature about this, right? At the end of the day, my responsibility is for Dr. Avula to hit the ground running come January 1, right? We can't take any time off. We should be out of commission for 3 months. He should be able to hit the ground running knowing exactly what I know right now, right? And when I started out, it took a little time to make all that happen. And I had a transition team, but there were certain rules and regulations that folks wanted to follow. I think we could do better than that. And so we've been an open book to the Avula team, the transition team for them. Day one, the day after the election, Danny Avula was in my office. I talked to him early on. He was in my office asking questions. And what I like about Danny Avula is he asks a lot of questions, but you want someone who will ask a lot of questions. And the key is, to me, the key to leadership, particularly at the chief executive level, is asking the hard questions of the people who work for you. I don't have to know everything, but I better have some hard questions for those who are running the operations like police or fire. Or you have to ask the hard questions. And sometimes you have to ask the hard question in front of others, right? I'm not trying to embarrass the people I work with. I'm not trying to put the people I work with on the spot, but I need these questions answered. And so where are we on X? And if we're not anywhere I think that we need to be, or we're not where we need to be, I'm the one to be like, you know what? Let's get this done ASAP.
I seen some of your staff shaking their heads.
Yes, they probably are. I'm not mean-spirited about it, right?
No.
But I just want us to set a top line, an expectation that, you come to a meeting with me, I'm expecting you to have answers. Dr. Avula is asking all the questions. He's spoken to every high-level official in our administration. So I think he will be prepared. And I think continuity and stability is important. That's the one thing I took away from my transition when I heard from people in the community in the time from the time I won the election to the time I started on that January 1, 2017, where people told me, Mayor, we want to hit the ground running. Continuity is important. Stability is important. And so my message to those on Danny's team, to Danny himself, is stability and continuity is important. People like the direction the city is moving.
We're coming to we're in the fourth quarter here. We got some fun things here though for you at the end. Before we get to the rapid fire questions, you're getting a lot of endorsements. You're getting a lot of endorsements, man. Let's talk about the future. The future looks bright for you. I mean,
God willing.
You raised a lot of money. You've been in Southwest Virginia, Tidewater, you're everywhere. So, let's speak into the future a little bit. We obviously know you're running for lieutenant governor.
Yep. I'm running for lieutenant governor, and I'm running because I'm a believer that every Virginian deserves a fair shot. For the last 8 years, I have been able to see at the local level how I've been able to see the gaps between what the General Assembly may pass and pat themselves on the back for, and us having to execute on the laws that have been passed.
And you've been writing letters to the governor. You've been pretty upfront about it too.
I've been, I have, right?
We see it.
And I'm also a believer that you need a leader who's willing to fight like hell for better opportunities for those who may not have been born with the most. The reason why I get a little upset about Donald Trump becoming president, because I believe that his agenda is centered around doing the most for those who already have the most or were born with the most. So who is going to do the most for those who are born with the least or have the least? And I plan to fight like hell for those individuals. I think I've demonstrated that in my time as mayor, and I think I can be that same voice, that same fighter for those who may be living in Northumberland, or you may be living in Wytheville, or you may be living on the Route 1 corridor in Fairfax County, and they need someone to stand up for them. They're doing everything right. They're doing everything that my father told me to do, and my grandmother. Go to school, get good grades, keep your nose clean, stay out of trouble. But sometimes we know that doing all those things still does not equate to success or equal opportunity. We can't guarantee every child will be successful, but what we can guarantee you is an opportunity. And that's what I'm willing to fight for. That's why I want to be the lieutenant governor.
So polished. So polished. Man, if Obama and Michelle had a baby, it'd be Levar Stoney. You so polished. I've read his notes. I'm like, man, you said the exact same thing. I've read the notes. You said you memorized the exact same thing. It just sounds so clean. I got one more question from a teacher. I got some rapid fire questions, and I got a surprise at the end.
Okay.
Okay. One of the teachers in our audience wanted to know, what's your favorite memory of visiting Richmond City School over the past 8 years? One memory that
stands out the most.
Yeah.
Mook. I think Terrell Robinson probably said that. I visited, I think it was a preschool, but it was a school, and I got on one knee to give this kid a hug, this kid Mook. And Mook touched my face, and they captured that picture. And I invited Mook to my State of the City years that same year. Mm-hmm. Mook's probably a big kid now because, this was early on. That was one of the memorable experiences. The thing that always got me was when I would visit these schools, the number of kids, I didn't ask them to do this, they would just come up and just hug me around the arm, around the leg. That would always warm my heart. I could be having the worst day possible at City Hall. But if going to a school was on my calendar, I knew I was going to get an instant jolt of energy and positivity, because that's the future right there, right? The innocence in those schools reminded me of what we were fighting for, right? Why we do this job. Every day may not be like I said, like roses every day, but going to schools would remind me that, why we do this. And so all those occasions of those young people who will come up to me and give me a hug, and I didn't even, just randomly give me a hug and hug me around the waist as if I was a part of their family, or they heard about me from their parents or whatever, that sticks with me. And now to see these kids that I met back when they were in 4th grade or when they were in 7th grade, and now they're in college or graduate from college, and they still remember me going to their classrooms, I think that's powerful. That's powerful. There was one time that I played a math game with a group of kids in a school in Southside. It was the school before Cardinal Elementary School, because it was in a trailer. And it was a number of, there were several Latino students, and they were playing a math game where they're running to the back, and they were just so competitive. And to see their minds working, there was a math problem on the board, and they were running back and forth answering the problem. And you can see their little minds working, and they were racing to get it done, and they were having fun, right? The one thing I think sometimes we miss in education is that school has to be a place for them not to just soak up all this knowledge, but a place that they can feel safe, the place they feel like they can have a little fun as well. Now, they can't have fun when the teacher's talking, the teacher's instructing the class, but I always loved school because I knew I was going to go there and have a little fun, right? And gaining knowledge should be fun. And I hope that the kids who are in our school system today and for generations to come know that we really, as an administration, really put it all on the line for public education. There's not a time that Jason Cameras came to my office and I said outright no. And he would come in asking for some big numbers when it came about investing in schools. And I never, whether if you were in Parks and Recreation or if you were in schools and you came to ask me for a budget allocation, you knew that I was a softie for those two agencies, those two departments, because those are the agencies that touch our kids. And I thought, you know what, we got to do this, right? And there were some things that I do that I know some people out there probably didn't agree with me on in terms of gaining more money to build more schools and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it was the right thing to do. Do we want kids to continue to go to schools in dilapidated facilities? No. If we had all the money in the world and we could build and reconstruct all the schools today, would we do it? We would. We don't have that, so we have to phase this thing in. But if we have an opportunity sitting right in front of us to change that, you'd like to think that the folks in charge would do it. We did it.
So we're going to have a little fun here with some rapid fire questions, and then have...
I normally like the hard questions. The rapid fire questions always get me, you know? Like,
yeah.
Because I don't know, you coming out left field with questions about, like, you know, where I get
Yeah.
my suits and stuff like that. Like,
But before I do this, though, you know, kind of going back to my humorous comment about Obama, again, as a black man, we never seen anything like Obama until we had Obama. I think you could probably speak for that. I mean, we never had a black president. We never seen anyone in that light. And as a generational peer, I can honestly say that in my whole life growing up, I never met anyone like Levar Stoney. I never knew anyone growing up as a kid that was the student that you wanted to be. Like, you kind of put yourself in a public service route at a very young age and have excelled all the way up to this point. So, you know, as men, we need to really kind of give that energy and that support and that love, because there ain't a lot of Levar Stoneys. And I have a lot of friends that's in politics that we're mutually friends with, but you're a little different in that way. You know, it's a different. So I don't mean the Obama comment to be sarcastic. I really mean it as Obama kind of set an example to a lot of black men in regard to what a black politician could be. Everybody loved Obama, maybe not always politics, but as a man, you know, as a husband, as a father, as an example. So, you know, kudos to you, for real.
Can I say, Randy, for a very long time, I've always known what I wanted to do with my life, right? From the time I was a little kid. There was a time when I wanted to be a weatherman.
What?
Yeah. I wanted to be like Andrew Frieden or somebody, right? Like, you know, I wanted to, and I told my grandma, I said, I changed my mind. I said, Grandma, one day I want to be in elected office. I want to run for office one day. I want to be a politician. And my grandma said, well, but both of them lie anyway, so go ahead and do it. And I was like, Grandma, come on. Come on, Grandma. The forecaster can't get it right all the time, you know? But from a young age, I always knew that I wanted to devote my life to public service. And Randy, I really wanted to do that because I thought by be the first in my family to graduate from high school, being the first in my family to go to college and graduate from college, I thought that I had hit the jackpot. No lie, I thought I had hit the jackpot. And I thought the best way to give back when you hit the jackpot is to do something that will benefit others. And public service was that for me. I guess I could have gone into business. I guess I could have gone into a number of other fields. I could have gone into being an attorney, going to law. People always expect if you want to one day serve in public office that you're going to go to law school. I looked at that. I don't want to go to law school. I don't want to practice law. And I chose this route in life because I just didn't want. I know there are a number of kids who grew up the way I grew up, or even grew up in a worse situation than the one I grew up in. Right, and my situation was at times rocky, but I had the stability of having a grandmother at home each day and every day, and she was going to make sure that I had food on the table and I had a roof over my head. And I didn't know how lucky I had it until I got older and I realized that, man, my grandmother and my father made some serious sacrifices, and I thought, when you make sacrifices like that, you thought you see people stomping around complaining about the things they don't get because they're giving it to you. My father was a smart man, an intelligent man who never finished high school. My grandmother was also highly intelligent, but they made certain sacrifices so that our family could have more, that the next generation could have more. And I thought the best way I could repay them was to graduate from college, do well by them, get an education, and go out here and make sure others have the opportunity to do the same thing. Yeah.
Well, you did that. And they're proud. Listen, Stoney, they knew you were going to be incredible. You was handling a checkbook at like 7, 8 years old.
That's right. That's right. You know, when I tell people
that's crazy.
They're like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? The reality is, when I was 7 years old, my uncle taught me how to fill out the checkbook.
You an old soul, man.
The 2-line to where you write, you know, who the check is from and all that stuff, and little X's and stuff like for the. they taught me that at an early age. And so they said, when you get the bill from Dominion Power, Virginia Natural Gas, York Point Apartments, you do this. And every month for many years, I was the one who filled out that checkbook. And when I went to college, my brother was like, I'm not doing this. And so they moved my grandmother in with my uncle after that, because my brother was like, I don't have time to be doing all these things.
Sunday gonna want a checkbook, you know that, right?
Sunday needs a checkbook too, yes.
That's what she will. All right, we're gonna do these rapid fire, and then I got one thing to close us off.
Okay.
Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Go to Richmond coffee spot.
Urban Hang Suite's a good one. I do a lot of making coffee at home these days. But yeah, you know, the office, I make coffee. I don't really go out and drink coffee as much as I used to.
Okay. We don't want to hurt any coffee businesses out here.
No. The coffee businesses are good. You go get yourself a cup of coffee tomorrow morning, a mocha or a latte, whatever you like.
Favorite RVA festival?
Oh, 2nd Street is one of my favorites. 2nd Street.
3 words to describe Richmond.
Gritty, resilient, special. Special.
Most binge-worthy show you and Brandy been watching lately?
We got a 9-month-old. We have not been watching a lot of shows together. Yeah, it's been a long time since we watched. Here's the one thing, and this is, I feel like, the last show that we watched together was 60 Days In. Everybody's like, why are y'all watching 60 Days In? Because it's funny. It's hilarious, because we get all these people, they think they big and bad. You know, I can handle this. I was a parole officer, or I was a corrections officer. And then when they get up in there, they be like, tap it out. Like, I gotta go. One day in, we gotta go. And so we like watching 60 Days In, because all these folks who act like they big and bad, when they get in there with some real hardcore people, they tap out. You gotta watch that. You didn't watch that?
No, I ain't watched that.
It's on Hulu. It's on, yeah, you gotta watch that.
I've been watching the show with Eva Marcel. What's that show called? What's it called? Oh, I love that Queensman. What's it called? All the Queensmen. Yeah, it's probably not a show for this. That's what I've been watching. All right, if the mayor had if you had a theme song going out, what would it be?
Going out.
What's your theme song as you go out of office?
The song that I played when I did my last State of the City, I believe, was Drake's "We Made It."
I remember.
Because we made it.
Maybe you could do "They Not Like Us" now.
I could do that too. I could do that as well. But yeah, this has been a long road.
Yeah, man.
8 years is not people think 8 years is like a short period of time. That's a long period of time. And so to do 2 terms, 8 years, yeah, we made it.
But Stoney, before I present, or I'm gonna read something, because we have something we want to present you.
Okay.
But I just want to say,
we go with the surprises. Here we go.
Yeah, good surprises. But first and foremost, I sincerely appreciate you sharing this space with me today and allowing me to be a part of your farewell. It's been an honor. I've enjoyed getting familiar with you, and look forward to not just getting familiar with you. I feel there's a connection, and I look forward to going forward and continuing to help narrate your story. You could have had a lot of people up here from the big media, but you chose the little media and the new media, and what I believe is a very direct, honest media, because like I said, we're from the culture, for the culture. So I just want to say thank you so much for allowing me to participate in this with you.
Well, thank you. And shout out to the Black History Museum as well
most definitely
allowing us to have this conversation in this great space. Yep.
So this is a Randy Wilson podcast produced by Verified Productions. However, I am also part of a collective with 804 The Culture. And on behalf of the entire Culture Collective and our growing community of followers, creatives, and entrepreneurs, we are honored to present you with an inaugural 804 The Culture Change Maker Award. This award is given to individuals who exemplify excellence, inspire progress, and bring meaningful change to the Richmond area. The Culture Collective was founded with a vision to provide creatives, entrepreneurs, and dreamers with a platform to find their audience, build their community, and share their narratives through social media. Your leadership has significantly transformed Richmond into a thriving hub for innovation, making it a place where culture is celebrated and opportunities are abundant. Your 8 years as mayor demonstrate your dedication to progress and inclusion. From the removal of the Confederate monuments, an act of courage and vision that redefined Richmond's story, to your efforts to develop affordable housing and improve public education. You have worked tirelessly to ensure that Richmond remains a city where everyone can thrive. Furthermore, your commitment to honoring Richmond icons like the heavy hitter DJ Lonnie B and Mad Skills, alongside community cornerstones like Mama J's, illustrate your unwavering support for the vibrant culture of our city. Your contributions have fostered an environment where the next generation of dreamers and innovators can flourish. By leading with empathy and action, you have ensured that Richmond is not only a city with a rich history, but also a beacon of opportunity and change for the future. So it is with great pride and gratitude that we present you with this award. You are a true change maker, and your impact on Richmond, Virginia will be felt for generations to come. So, for everyone else, let me get back. Oh. So, as I shared with you guys, as we are about to close here, we want to create as much content as possible. So we have a lot of people here that's going to be potentially approaching you, just to maybe get a few 15, 20-second sound bites so that we can really celebrate this moment. This is a celebration, okay? And we want to create as much content out there to flood the internet as Stoney leaves office and goes into his next role as Lieutenant Governor. And this is an opportunity for you to be a change maker also and contributing to that support. So thank you so much for everyone who came today. Again, thank you to the Black History Museum. Thank you to the City of Richmond. Again, when I say when they really pulled in resources and tools, like they really made it easier for my guys to not have to bring everything out here, which can be a lot of work, and we tremendously appreciate that. Wes is phenomenal. You got a great team, and we genuinely appreciate it. And so again, I'm not going to be shy about this. You got your phone, subscribe to the show, follow the show, share the show, okay? And continue to tell people about the show, because it is media platforms like this that have an impact in changing our community that maybe you sometimes don't see with the big media, you know? Like, all stations ain't on your side. So
I like that.
We'll close right there. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.